To another episode of Grandpa's Garage. And remember, what happens in the garage stays in the garage. So if you remember last time we were here, we had just dropped the engine in the 86 Camaro. And now we are back, and I just thought I'd give you an update on some of the progress we've made. Plenty of work done. Here it is. On the engine, I just thought I'd give you a shot of the body as it stands. I've got the fenders are on. So here is the left side of the car. Everything's on, bolted up, and lines up quite nicely. Let's take a walk over here and take a look at the right side of the car. Oh my gosh, the shop's a mess. There is the right side. Not to mention a nice little dent that was here on the fender has been smoothed out, patched up, and primered by my good friends over at Press Hawkins Collision in Woodstock, Ontario. So quick shout out to those guys. Now, the other thing I've done is the power antenna on this car. Yeah, the 86 Camaro Sport Coupe had a power antenna. So it was one of those fancy ones where you turn the radio on and the antenna goes up and down. The original one with the car, the cable inside it broke. So even when the car was turned off, it would just sit there and spin. You would hear zzz, and it was making a lot of noise. So I cut the wires to it, and it never worked since. So I've put in a new power antenna, and that actually fit quite nicely. All wired up in and underneath, which I don't even know if we can see this here. But anyways, it's in there. So let's just go and hold on a second. I'll get the hood up and we'll take a look at where things are at with the motor. All right, so let's have a look. The engine, as I mentioned, is in the car, and we've got everything in place now. Everything is plumbed and wired. So you can see coolant lines, air conditioning lines. I've got the air conditioning pump with the full AC box and everything back there. The condenser and radiator are in the car. What I've got is this particular block did not have a spot for the mechanical fuel pump that was on the original engine, and I don't particularly like them anyways. So what I've got is an electric fuel pump that I mounted in line under the left side of the car, and that fuel sends the fuel up to the fuel regulator that I've added. I actually custom made this bracket that sits off the strut tower. The fuel goes into the side of the regulator. There's a return line off the bottom to bleed any extra fuel back to the tank that's not used. Any fuel that is being used comes off the side of the regulator over into the carburetor here. What I've got is the fuel filter in line with it. I've got a gauge in line with it, as well as another one on the fuel regulator, so I can just do a double check and make sure it's sitting at 6.5 pounds pressure. I've got the relay beside it for the fuel pump, and then I put another accessory box on there with fuses for any electrical gadgets that I put in the car. I've got the new stereo going in it. I've got a small electrical panel to go inside that shows me the voltage, as well as USB connections for phones. So I'll show you the interior when that comes together. But in the meantime, the other thing I've got is I've got the throttle spring and return bracket here, which was not the original one for the carburetor. I think I mentioned before I modified it here to actually fit, and that works nicely. And then a quick trip to Home Depot, I manufactured this bracket, which allows me to hook up the throttle cable. I've got the cruise control cable here, as well as the kickdown cable below for the transmission. So as you can see, everything works quite nicely, and it should be a lot of fun. So what else? Let's take a look here. All things to show. There were 3 small rust spots on the car that needed to be fixed. One of them you can't really see. Down inside on the corner here, there was a small hole. This car is 99% rust free, but that was the only real hole in the car. So I fixed that. It's got new metal and then fitted with seam sealer. And then the only other hole in the car, oh, we can't really see. Let's get under the car for a quick second. Hold on. All right. You can see under the rear seat, there was a small hole where it looks like some water had gathered and it just rusted through. So anyways, that's been patched. It's got new metal welded in place, and then I just slathered it with seam sealer to seal it up, and that will be painted shortly. As well as, before I bought the car, somebody had patched the floor on the driver's side, and that's new metal, again, welded in and then seam sealed. So the whole underside of the car, I want to get it pressure washed and then and then we'll have it coated with rock guard and sealed up completely. The exhaust is in the car as well, front to back. I've got everything in right now except the drive shaft because I really wanted to get underneath and do a quick inspection on the car. And as you can see, it is rust free from front to back, other than a little bit of surface rust on the rear transfer case, which is pretty standard for these things, especially up here in Canada. But overall, we are in really good shape under the car. All right, so let's get back up and take a look at the top again. All right, so that's about it. That's plenty of progress. Like I said, the body's come together, the underside has come together, the exhaust has come together, the engine is together. When I hook up the battery, I've got power now. The lights, all the lights come on, the hood latch works, the power windows work. I've got new switches on the power windows. I'm not going to show you the inside of the car right now until I get it closer together. But that's it. So another night in Grumpus Garage, and stay tuned for the next episode. Take care all. Bye.